Hi, I'm Nancy O'Neill, Director of Detroit Business Hub Group. Welcome to the Detroit Business Hub Group podcast. Listen to business professionals share their expertise to help you start and accelerate your business. Invest in your business now. We're here with Mike Rizzo with Rizzo Creative Services. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Nancy. How you doing?
And also Melissa Davis with Wise Digital Marketing. So I'm going to take a moment and let you two introduce yourselves. I'll pretty much just be asking the questions. I am the author of Fire Your Job, Your Own Boss. But I'll be asking the questions. I guess I can chime in if I need to. Whenever.
Melissa, ladies first.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Yes, as Nancy mentioned, my name is Melissa Davis. And yes, I am the founder and owner of Wise Digital Marketing, where we help overwhelm and understaff small businesses with their digital marketing needs, especially around marketing strategy and planning, social media marketing and management, paid advertising, online advertising management, as well as Facebook ads and helping them with that.
Mike?
And I'm Michael Rizzo, and I run Rizzo Creative Services Company, a family-owned business. I started with my dad, and we work with a great many family-owned businesses, our clients, who do great work across all sorts of different verticals, big and small. And I'm proud to be a member of Detroit Business Hub.
Including working with Detroit Business Hub.
That's true. Nancy, you're like it.
I know. Same here.
There we go.
I was going to say, we're not exactly family, but we're pretty close. We're a tightly knit group. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Since the two of you are pretty much marketing experts, give us some inexpensive marketing tips to help businesses grow or help new business owners start their business.
Okay, Mike, yeah, you're going to keep making me go first because ladies first.
I'm putting you on the spot.
He's being a gentleman.
It's a gentleman.
These days.
Yes, such a gentleman. Yes, I think one of the easiest tips and cheapest tips for marketing your business is talking to your list, which I mean going back and talking with your existing customers that you've had in the past, that you are people that you know that are could be interested in your product or services. There's people out there, which makes sense, always like to look for new customers, but actually you can really mine riches in chatting with your existing customers and offering something new to them. Yeah,
and to dovetail on that, I think all of us as business owners, as professionals, have a responsibility to beat the streets. And that's less getting out there anymore. But it's about staying ever present on all the different media and platforms that we all have to participate in. I joke that I forget about LinkedIn on an almost weekly basis. And then remember, oh yeah, LinkedIn, that's a thing that exists. And then I follow up with all the different business contacts that I have. I added a client this week where I said, hey, it's been a couple weeks since I remember LinkedIn exists, but we should be connected on LinkedIn. And for what it's worth, now we're back together. And that's a daily responsibility I think we all have to think about all the different places where the people we do business are. And putting in the time, putting in the effort, just to keep your face out there, just to remind them that whatever it is you do well, whatever you are great at, hey, I'm out here doing it.
Yeah, and one of the things Mike we talked about with the Detroit Business Hub Group course in our marketing modules is building those relationships, which are invaluable. We also talked about referrals and testimonials, both which are free and they go a long way. So word of mouth is still, I think, one of the best ways that you can market and promote your business.
Everything is your professional network. Melissa, you rested?
Yep, I agree. And word of mouth, it's the same thing. Closed mouths do not get fed. So getting out there and just being there, and now in COVID time, you just have to be there in a digital world. But networking still happens, and just responding and answering questions, in different groups and being involved in wonderful membership groups such as this one with Detroit Business Hub Group. It's important to be out there. And I think it's easier for businesses, especially those who are starting out, if they come with that mindset of service. So if they're serving to solve a problem, it makes it easy because they're constantly looking for ways of doing that.
And Nancy, you mentioned testimonials.
Yes.
Testimonial is essentially important to whatever you do. But for my business, as someone who, I don't like calling myself a video producer anymore because I do other things than that. But for the video aspect of my business, one of the key marketing tools, one of the most important sales tools I've got are web partners, people I work with who work on the website of marketing communications, who have made referrals to me that frankly have a higher closing percentage than the people I go out and find, because it is a third-party testimonial by that web partner that we work with Rizzo, they do good work. Our customers that we've introduced to them have been really happy and satisfied with the work that we've done. And the point I'm making with this long-winded story is that I just produced a testimonial today for one of my web partners or featuring a client I just completed a video for, where I said, hey, you do great work with Lisa. How did Lisa do for you? And where we mentioned that, oh, it was Lisa's idea that we do this video in the first place. And that's just taking good care of your professional network.
Absolutely.
And yeah, again, doing that work to maintain those relationships.
Yes.
That was the word I was looking for when I started this whole thing. It's all about building and maintaining your relationships.
Yep, and it's work, and it's work.
Really important. And Mike, you actually were a referral from someone else in our network, and that's how the two of us connected.
Another one of those web partners.
Yeah, so you really want to, when you have that trust with that person that you know, to introduce you to someone that you don't know, it really goes a long way. So Melissa, in fact, was a referral from Robin. So,
yep.
Yeah, there you go. I said, I need a marketing person. I mean, we can go out and find people when we don't really know what type of work this does, we don't know their quality. So yeah, it works out well. And then sometimes they give you an affinity discount too, such as Melissa did. So
I don't like going out and flexing about what I do or do not know. I appreciate you calling me a marketing expert, Dina. I don't go out and claim that I'm a master of marketing because I feel like it's hollow when I say it about myself.
Yeah, you kind of come across as being really cocky and arrogant when you start bragging about yourself. Even though we know you do, because we do good work, but it just goes a lot further when somebody else says that instead of you saying it out of your own mouth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think Melissa does great work.
She does. She's done work for DBHG as well.
Yep, Mike does great work as well. But I do think, yeah, you're right. I think I think Michael, you said it really well. Referral is nothing more than a warm, wonderful testimonial. And if people think about that from that perspective.
And also, Melissa, with your webinar that you did with Tammy, I interchanged the two of those. One of the things that she says in her sales pitch is, elevator pitch is, how can I help you? And I love that because you're not trying to sell anything. And it kind of people are taken aback, like, wait a minute, aren't you trying to sell me something? And you're saying, how can I help? How can I be of service to you? And you almost flip the script and people don't know how to handle that. They're like, they're so not accustomed to it. They don't really know what to say.
And in all of my years of doing this, whether this is how it actually works or how I am making it work, you want it to be the customer's idea, whatever it is. Give me just enough information to say, oh, that's a great idea that you have there.
Right.
Make this video that you're describing, where we approach this situation from this angle. And that's what it is. I give you just enough tools to know about what I do so that you can give me what I need to say, oh yeah, we should be doing that thing you just described.
Right. It's like, why has it been doing
this for years? It's going to cost this many dollars.
Why is it they talk their husbands into doing something? They're like, oh, honey, that's a great idea. Melissa, am I telling the truth?
Oh, yes, exactly.
That's one of the oldest tricks in the book.
Exactly. It's
on your own.
It is definitely what you do. That's how you teach. The more questions you ask, the more you get what you need.
Well, you got to feed the ego, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay, give us some inexpensive marketing tips to help us market our business.
Well, I think this goes back to where we started earlier, which is that, again, you have to be constantly aware of the different media that you have free access to all the time. If you're not regularly updating your various social media channels, just to remind people what you're doing, you're messing up. If you're not maintaining your email list and getting back to those prospects, those top 50 and getting at least one point of contact every week or two, you're messing up. and it kind of goes on and on from there. Melissa?
Yeah, you hit on a lot of them. Consistency, and just in one, a great marketing tip is you need several tries before you can kind of say it's wrong, it's messed up. You really need to stick with something and let it run its course before you really move on to try another tactic, because it could be a tweak in an audience, or a message could be a little off, but you still need to maintain that same tactic, whether it is a social media ad or an email campaign, before you write it off. So I think the shiny object syndrome is so just, I guess, busy now, since we're all sort of virtual. We can get so distracted. We just kind of have to stay focused.
And let me add on to that at least in my business, most of my sales are relatively large client relationships built with individuals. And part of that is being not just proactive, but reactive. And you figure this out on a client-by-client basis, on a prospect-by-prospect basis. Well, what's your preferred means of communicating? And I'll just straight up ask, are you a texter? Do you want to email? Do you want to have a phone call? Because I have my ways that I send my regular emails. There are people with whom I have ongoing text conversations. There are people I send memes to. But it depends on building up that relationship and getting a sense of what that person wants from you. Yeah. Because sometimes, hey, you call someone on the phone, you get a meeting on the first call, and you make a sale at that meeting. Right. It happens sometimes. There's just as many, if not more, relationships that have taken years of staying in their headspace and keeping them up to date. And hey, here's what I'm up to over here's this project we completed. We've got to get to whatever their level is, which might be very different from how I talk to people. But I'll make myself the kind of person I need to be who they want to talk to when that situation finally goes on. A lot of stuff that's happened for me in the last 60 or 90 days is because, imagine all of the customers that used to have trade shows that no longer exist. Right. That need to figure out how to do that stuff online.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. And I would say another marketing tip is like telling people thank you. So we just recently finished a crowdfunding resource or a campaign, and Mike was one of our donors. So I told Mike I was going to send him a copy of my autographed book, and he's like, "Don't waste the postage, just wait till I see you in person." So Mike, here is your card and a copy of my autographed book. So that's our way of saying thank you.
Love this. This is going on the shelf, but I want to talk about thank you note, because that's another thing. Thank you notes cost about postage plus about $1. Yep. But they are worth so much more than that.
Yeah.
And it's such a key tool where if you meet anyone in person, literally as soon as you get back from that office, right. It should be going out in the mail same day, because you never know. I don't think you close the sale with a thank you note, but I think you get a lot of points for something that's not a lot of work. And it's a no-brainer.
That's another Tammy Turner tip, and it's so rare these days that you actually have people write you a handwritten thank you note. So it's like, you're gonna stand out even if you're not the greatest salesperson, because they're like, wow, they just took the time to actually write me a note. Like, hardly anybody does that these days. So
it's very nice.
Thank you.
It's important. Yeah. Yes, it is. You're right. Both of you guys. It's so important because you have a captive audience, because it's almost a 100% open rate, because people they're looking at their mail. They don't get too much mail. The physical mail, they're going to look at it and they're going to open it. It's almost 100%. They're not going to throw it away. So, having that physical thank you gift is definitely something. It's a nice little tip to have.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like, what do we normally get in the mail? We're either getting solicitation mail to sell us something.
Hands out.
Bills. So it's like you go through, you start looking through your mail, you're like, bill, solicitation, and then you're like, oh, I got a thank you note. It's like, oh, who's this from? And it like just like makes up your whole day. I like get. Do I like get pins away?
Do you have them?
I have one on my purse.
Why don't you sign this book?
I did sign it.
Where did you sign? Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. On the wrong page.
That's a page right in the front, like on page 0.
Right.
Yeah. I make sure I did that before I gave that to you.
Good.
But like on the other hand, like I don't really, get jollies off of writing thank you cards. The last campaign we ran, I think we had like 11 donors. Well, that meant that I had to send, and anybody that donated $25 or more, I sent them a book. So I sent out like 10 books. And one of the donors, she donated like 10 books, $10, I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, they said, if you donate $25, you get a free book. She's like, Nancy, I already bought the ebook. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm so sorry. But I didn't necessarily want to like take the time to write the card, put the address on there, find the brown envelope, go to the post office. So I said, you know what? This person didn't have to give me $25+ either. So it kind of, you have to look at it like that.
And it's not about what they gave you today.
Right.
It's about what that relationship is worth for you in the long run.
Yep.
Because
Exactly.
there's a lot of meetings where, I met someone, we had a good meeting, I sent that thank you card, I didn't hear anything back, we didn't do any business for 2 years. But when they come back in year 3, it's difficult to amortize the value of that thank you card.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think so too.
It's those little seeds that you're planting. You're always planting these seeds, and yeah, they're going to grow and they're going to bear fruit. You just don't know when, but you just got to kind of keep planting them, because one, if it's not a part of your core, your being, just make it an appointment. Just put it on the calendar. Just and just have it there, and then create a frequency of it. And keep planting them.
Yeah, and the other thing is like that 6 degrees of separation. You don't really know who that's going to put you in contact with. Also just having an attitude of gratitude goes a long way too. I actually have I just happen to have it in my computer bag today, but I have this gratitude journal. Just want to bring this up. I got this from Terry Savelle, and so I made a point, like in July, I'm going to write 5 things a day that I'm grateful for. So I had kind of started to get into a little bit of a slump where I started complaining about things. And so I'm like, I really have to turn this around, because if you think about everything that you don't have in life, you'll feel like you never have enough. But if you start being grateful for what you do have, it'll like attract more, good things in your life. So I said, I really got to flip this. And so I'm working on breaking this habit of complaining. And I'm like, okay, so I did this for 21 days straight, and I'm still complaining. I'm like putting little hashtags down every time I'm complaining. I'm like, oh, I did it again. Like, I'm not even noticing stuff until I started calculating this up. And so I was like, I'm gonna go another 30 days because it's been a really positive experience. And so I want to keep this going. So I just wanted to mention that. Like, just having an attitude of gratitude and being thankful. Because honestly, people, I think, some of us feel like we have this sense of entitlement, and it's like nobody owes you anything. Nobody has to buy anything from you. So the fact that you have any customers or clients, especially during this time and with COVID-19 and all the other craziness we have, you should be grateful. You don't have to have any customers.
Exactly.
So I think you have to see it as a positive and not focus on things that aren't going well in our lives or things that, we want to see turn around.
Yep, and I know that's hard for people, especially when they're trying to keep a roof over their head. These are very hard, traumatic, mentally draining times for everyone.
Yeah.
And so just trying to and understand that everybody's kind of going through it. So.
Yeah, I was telling Mike off the air, I've been having this issue with insomnia since March, and I thought, oh, I don't have to go into work every day. I'm gonna have the best sleep. I'm going to spend a nightmare. I'm like, I can't sleep at night. This is ridiculous. But I think it's just that fact that you don't have that everyday routine, that it just kind of really just gets you off your kilter. I didn't realize how important your routine was until you kind of got to this point where you're trying to figure out what are you going to do with all this extra time you have. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm retiling the kitchen floor. I'm packing up things in my mom's room.
Yep.
I'm doing everything but climbing the wall. So I am grateful that I have this extra time to work the business as well and write. So those are 2 great things that I've gotten out of this experience. Hi, Francine, how are you?
Oh, good.
That's good. Well, now that you're joining us for the conversation, I'll see where I can plug you in terms of marketing tips that Melissa and Mike can offer to you. This would be a good question for Francine. How can you inexpensively market using the bull's eye approach by starting out with friends and family and then moving on to people that you don't know? Melissa?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was for me or to Francine, right? Say it again.
We're hoping Francine, so we're going to be asking questions like giving her tips on how she can improve her marketing.
Okay. So your question was based on, what you have in your book, right? What is the how to expand from the bullseye to the outer, right? So reaching out to customers. It all starts with strategy. You just really need to know who your customer is, and you need to know where they are. And when you find out where they are, especially in the digital space, that's where I play in. Then you just show up. Think of showing up in where they are, whether it is with your Facebook platform and you're constantly providing content of value to that platform, and people sign up and want to hear more about it. Or you are in, a group, or you're part of an organization that is part of the group, and you show up all the time, and you always drop value and bring that there. Once they are accustomed to that as a part of your brand, then you can look to kind of expand that and add them as a customer, and then reach them, and then those that look like them. So I work in a lot in advertising and online advertising. I think, like I said before, your customers are your best prospects, your best sales force. So utilizing your customers, especially within Facebook, you can find similar people who look like them and act like them, and reach out to them and provide your service or product to that group, and then ask them questions. Is this what you want? Is this work for you? So it's really kind of expanding and finding out where they are and going there and just experiencing it with them.
Yeah. Francine, if you want to chime in and introduce yourself, that's fine, but she actually owns 2 small businesses. She's an author and a writer, and then she also is a fashion designer. So one of the things that Francine and I talked about is that she would go to book signings, and people would buy her books, but they didn't necessarily want to fill out her contact list. So what incentives would you have? Do you do like a free giveaway where you give away a pin, or how do you get people to join your contact database so you can start to build that up? Because that's your network is your network. So you've got to get that contact information.
Yeah, there's got to be a contest. There's got to be a carrot, because otherwise nobody wants to give anyone an email anymore. I have an email just for giving to things because I don't want to get whatever they're going to send me after they take my email back. So you've got to make sure that you've created an incentive that makes it worthwhile to get that contact information. And for an author, that's got to be a book. For a fashion designer, it's got to be a piece of apparel, something.
Yeah, like a concept or drawing or something.
Yeah, or an accessory, something that's doesn't take away from the main sale, but might give you further incentive to buy more. Though, Francine, if you don't mind, tell Melissa and I, and really the folks on Facebook, a little bit more about both your businesses, and then that way we would have some more specific ideas.
I don't know, Francine, if you're still on mute.
We might as well. That's okay.
No, she's muted.
Yeah.
I'll send her a text message. She was just talking a second ago.
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, a good example of that incentive, especially like in books, in the book space, is if you have a physical book, the incentive is, now people like to have the physical book, but they also like to have the electronic version. So with electronic version, you get an email, because you got to send it to them, right? Electronic.
Oh, that's fine.
And that's probably the email they like to use.
Or an audio version. You got, things, you offer up, take what you already have, your content, and you can offer it up in a different way, and that could be good for people.
Or inexpensive swag that you don't mind handing out, like if you're an author, branded, cost a minuscule amount of money to get 1,000 of those printed out, and you can hand them out like business cards. It effectively is a business card. Well, make sure that you capture the contact details before you hand them.
Yeah, that's Francie has that. I hadn't thought about that one. Pens are good. Has anything that's branded with your contact information and logo is always a good thing. And Francine's still not in.
I thought she was there.
Hello?
Hey,
yeah, I'm here.
I want to hear more about your businesses. Can you give us a brief introduction? So he wanted to give you some specific feedback on some marketing tips.
Well, the books is mostly health related. It's about my journey dealing with lupus. And I have I put poetry in it, the third book. Mostly in all my books. And I made just a poetry the third one, and I did self-care for my last one. And then as far as clothing, it was it's more like business casual, like what to wear to an interview, what to wear for a business meeting, that type of stuff. I was trying to figure out other ways to market myself because, like I said, I think I said to Nancy, it's better to get people to my emails. And they started doing a freebie. Just did extra lupus, but I was trying to figure out another way to get people to gravitate towards it, subscribe, and I was trying to figure out other ways to get people to buy the clothing as well. So.
Well, I like the fashion for interviews concept a lot. And I think one thing that you can do, again, expanding the network and building relationships with customers, start doing video consults. Talk to them about what they're going out for, see what they've got in their closet already, talk to them about what they like, so that you can tailor recommendations and then, of course, move product. But again, it's about building those relationships and making it so that, it builds your reputation as an expert and creates incentive to do some stuff.
Yeah, that's great. So Francine actually also designs and she creates the product too, so she sews too. So I have a shirt that I ordered from her, which I'm so wait, as soon as I wear it, I'll help market it and hold the shirt. But she is very, very talented.
I like that a lot. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that the video consult concept is important because here's the pain point for you, Francis. There's a lot of women, me included, out there that would love to have a stylist come and just put an outfit together for me so I don't have to think about it, I don't have to be concerned about what I'm wearing it and where. So having those consults out there enough that people could say that, oh, I have somebody, who is my wardrober, who is my personal stylist, who helps me out, on a budget, right? But somebody who has an eye for that and can support, women and men in terms of if you do have your clothes. But I know, Francine, you have some wonderful pieces.
Yeah.
It's not just buying it, but how to wear it. That's the consult, right? How to wear it and be successful. So offering that type of content to people is really good.
And it adds no cash cost to the product that you're selling, the garment that you're getting out there to clients, but it creates in them greater value. Because we got two things: we got price and we got value. You can't change price dramatically, but you can always create more value for that product.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it builds and reinforces the brand at every level.
Yeah, and one of the things that my hairstylist told me was that women need two things in their closet all the time. She's like, a wig and a black dress. So I had never heard those two things. I'm like, that's true though, because you never know when you're gonna need one or the other. And the other thing too is like, I know for me, because I come from an insurance background, it's a very conservative industry, so I have like a lot of blue, black, and brown in my closet. People think I'm going to a funeral, and I'm like, but this is how I'm supposed to dress, right? I mean, this is what's in my wardrobe. So sometimes people that kind of can get stuck, and they only wear like certain colors, or I have an SC personality, so I know, like, even when I was in college, my friends would be like, every time we go shopping with you, you buy the same pair of jeans, like, every time. Like, basically, like, get out the box, buy something else. And I hadn't even noticed it, but sometimes we can get stuck in a rut, too, when it comes to fashion. So.
Yep. Ditto. Same thing. Black, gray, and
yeah,
tan and
black, gray, blue, and brown.
Yep. It's just in our closet. So people who understand color, how to work with people with color. I mean, I'm wearing this. This is really like going out for me. I mean, really wearing something this colorful is novel. So just getting a good understanding of that and having somebody who can kind of help people, and that's the value. People pay for it.
Yeah. So, and I like your is it dashiki? It's
dashiki. Yeah,
it's very pretty.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do want to help Francine build her website out. Melissa helped the DBHG, she helped with our webpage as well. What are some inexpensive tips on how Francine can build up her? She's got two websites. She's got one for the books and then one for her fashion business. One of the things I told her with fashion is that her fashion website, she doesn't have any prices on her clothing. So that can be good and bad. Most of the time, if you've got like really high-end products, they say don't put your price on there because people, when they see it, they don't know the value. As Mike was saying, I'm not going to shut you down. But most of Francine's products are really affordable. Like I think her blouses are like $40 and under. So I don't see, to get a handmade blouse for $40, I think it's a really good deal. So I don't see a problem with adding the prices, but what do you two think about that?
I think you should be ready to do your e-commerce. It's not that difficult of a functionality to implement, and I think if you start getting some sales, you're going to get some sales.
Yeah, they don't know how much it costs. They can't buy it. That's the other thing too.
Yeah, you got to have your price on there. I think even the high end, to a degree. I know that has always been sort of a luxury tactic, but
yeah,
as we get away and especially in the virtual world, people right now and these generations behind us, don't want that time to play and do that dance. They want to know exactly what the cost is, and that cost fits with the value in their head. And then they're going to, it just saves you time. It saves you time. If somebody comes to your site and they leave, that means that wasn't the person that should be coming to your site. So understanding and putting your prices there and understanding those customers that buy you, that's what you want to focus on. So for your website to have that, and what I also tell, especially fashion designers, because sometimes fashion designing and website management usually don't work together. It's sort of like an oil and water in most cases. When you have a web presence, that it can be somewhat of a black hole where you can spend a lot of time and energy in that outside of your core gifts or your core value. So you always want to look for services and folks that could just make that web presence for you as easy as possible, because you're there to provide your zone of genius, your products, what you do the best, and make sure that they just kind of manage the site, right? And keep the site up and going. Because if you do what you do the best, that cost of maintenance of the site is minimal. It's like rent, for the building.
Yeah, another thing too is like you can't be an expert in all things. Like I thought I was doing pretty well in marketing until I met Melissa, and Melissa's like, oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And I knew I needed help on the social media end for events because DBHG had not done an online event before. And I wasn't getting the registrants that I needed to pull the event off. So I was like, okay, Melissa, you're gonna have to help us out. And I got 2 journalism degrees. So it's like, don't spend your time, if your thing is fashion and writing, don't spend your time trying to build a website. Just hire somebody, because there's affordable rates out there, for people that can help you out and do a good job. And I just think so especially with e-commerce, because it can be a little bit trickier, I think it's just easier, just even if you only hire them to do your one sales page, it'd be easier than you spending like 10 plus hours trying to figure out how to do it. I think your time could just be spent wiser, and you could be spending that time with your fashion design and writing.
I went to school for it.
I didn't hear what she said.
Oh. Drive safe, Frankie. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Can't hear.
And the point you're making.
One second, Francine. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I can't hear.
And the point you're making is that it's really not even about the work that gets to the sale. It's about making sure that the sale goes smoothly when you get there. You got to make sure that functionality is right where it needs to be, so that when someone is on your website ready to make a purchase decision, it goes off without a hitch, and that they get the product on time without a use up. And it's not just the amount of money you make on that sale; it's the amount of money you don't lose by having the website lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other thing too is like you don't want that customer to have a bad customer experience anywhere in the sales process. So that's one of the most frustrating things. Like they find something they like, they either don't know how much it costs, or there's no way for them to get to the cart to like buy the product. And it's like, well, what is the website up here for? What am I doing? Is I just spent 10 minutes shopping and I can't even buy the thing.
And we talked about how important good testimonials are.
Yeah.
Much more important is managing bad testimonials.
Absolutely.
You never want anyone out there working as a billboard against you.
Yeah.
Which is what happens when you create those sorts of problems.
Yeah, and don't make it hard for people to give you their money, right? You know what?
Tell me about it. And then we complain and say, oh, I don't have any customers. I'm like, it's just like this one guy, he's saying he doesn't really have like a lot of contract work. I was trying to get him to do some work on my mom and brother's house. It's like, I've sent him information. I've sent him texts on, I need a quote for X, Y, and Z. I've been waiting like 2 months. And I'm like, well, no wonder we don't have any customers. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because, like you mentioned before, you wear so many hats, but you got to always remember that you're the CEO. If you have your own business, you're the CEO, and you have to think like what a corporate CEO does. And corporate CEOs, delegate, they make decisions, and they write and they think about the vision, but they do a lot of delegation. And so there are just some pieces that you may find it fun, you may like to do it, but you may not need to do it for your business to keep it growing and business, and especially in marketing. There's so many different areas in marketing. And I know you, Nancy, you like doing, there can be great stuff. Like I love doing the PR, but just take this off my plate because you can't do everything. And you got to focus on the growth of the business, and the CEO just not have time to get into the weeds.
Yeah. And I think that is that can be an issue with being a small business owner, is that you do wear multiple hats, and you may not be delegating because you might just be doing it on your own. But you can still outsource work. I mean, you can still hire someone like I've done with Mike and Melissa and Robin. You just hire them on a project by project basis when you need help with something versus you trying to do everything on your own. And we can't do everything well. God gives us all certain gifts and talents, but he doesn't give one person everything. So that's why we have to build teams and work together and collaborate.
And there are so many price points to get a professional and functional website up and running with professionals like Melissa and any number of different approaches to that. It does not need to cost you that much. It is kind of, and I've said this before, a preamble. You got to have that to be in business. You're not in business until you have it. But it's not that hard. You can get help, and you can get online quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How can I use social media to effectively market my business? Because I think I said effectively, so there's other ways that you can do it ineffectively, even though we know it's free. But Melissa, I know you helped out a lot with our June 1st webinar, and you were using like different algorithms. I'm not asking you to share all your secrets, but what are some of the things that we can do to effectively market that maybe you're seeing some things or, some misconceptions about social media right now that don't work well? What do you recommend to a small business owner?
Yeah, I say this all the time, especially, social media. You need to go where your people are, first off, and be on those platforms. So like right now, I mean, Facebook has 3 billion people. I always tell people, you need to have a page on Facebook, whether they want to or not. And it's because there's 3 billion people there. Within that, there are ways to market and utilize the tools where you can, effectively, have a better ROI. Facebook, as well as YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, they're all there to make money. And so they're going to try to make it they do a great job making it easy for you to depart with your money with them.
Right.
One of the things I always tell people not to do, especially when they're looking at advertising, they want to take on that ownership themselves and use Facebook ads, is never boost a post. A post on in your social media all has specific intention, and there is something that are totally different when you create a post that is organic, meaning you're not paying for it, you just put it up on your site, versus creating an ad that has the intention of driving somebody to do an action. So I tell people that make sure they understand the distinction between posting on your social site and then driving people to do an action from an advertising standpoint. Social media, because it takes a lot of care and feeding, you need to care and feed it. So being there consistently, and that may not be 7 days a week, but at least be consistent. Like if you're 3 days a week, you're 3 days a week, and you're packing punch with the value that you bring to it 3 days a week. And doing that consistently will help your business, because it's just getting in front of people, on a regular basis. And the Facebook algorithm, like Instagram, will reward you for that. They will reward you for things that they're trying to promote, because Facebook's a business. They're trying to promote Facebook Live. You're going to be rewarded for that if you do more live video versus just uploading a video. They're trying to promote some of their other products and services like Messenger. Instagram is trying to promote more around shoppers. So they're going to try to reward you for utilizing those pieces that they want you to do. And then anything that keeps you on platform. So while it's important to have a website page, and as you notice, Facebook and Instagram, they're trying to make sure that their pages get as close to a website as possible, so you don't, jump off the platform. But just making sure that you do, pay attention to the algorithms or follow somebody who does, because there's a lot of things that change over and over with social media, and then just be consistent with it. Is some of my most important things to mention.
And I think not just on social media, but that's part of an ever-present challenge that you face as a business owner working marketing, is you're always qualifying your customers. You've got to figure out who are my people and where are they and how do they like to be addressed or found. And that's why you can absolutely spend a whole lot of money in Facebook to boost posts, and it'll show it to a whole lot of people who aren't necessarily your people. And that's, same thing with YouTube. And when you eventually get to the point where you start paying for impressions, then you've got to start really looking hard at the reports that you get to figure out who they showing it to and why and when. I've run Google campaigns for Rizzo, and when you go and look at the campaign results and you say, okay, you showed a lot of these ads to people between 0 and 18 years old at 2 in the morning. I don't think those are the groups of people I need to be dealing with. Let's run from 9 to 5. Let's only run to people who are old enough to sign contracts. Probably set it off at 65 as well. And there's so many of the major web giants are built now. They're all advertising. Any product that you don't pay for, you are the product. On Facebook, we're all part of it. Facebook, Instagram, Google, all of that. We're what they're selling. So if you're on the other side of that transaction and you're paying for communication through any of the Google, Facebooks, Instagrams, YouTubes, you've got to be in a position to be truthing what you're spending your money on and tailoring your approaches, because otherwise, you're going to be paying for a lot of impressions with a lot of people that are never, ever
I know I was working on, speaking of social media, I was working on a piece of content that I'm going to be putting up probably next week, but it was, just, I like to put up certain quotes, and I always want to hit people on the head with this, like, if you're not reading and analyzing your data, you're marketing with your eyes closed and you're trying to walk down the street. You've got to look at the data, especially in marketing, to know what's working and what's not. Now, I mentioned before, right? You got to be the CEO. So it's sort of like, oh my gosh, do I need to be in the weeds of the data? No. And there's tools that will allow you to kind of at least give you those insights, those quick hits that you need. You just need a dashboard. You just need to just know the insights. But you need to really understand that data to make those changes or those, to optimize it, because it's all about just attracting customers to grow a business. You want to be profitable, you attract the right customer, you get one of them, and then you just scale similar customers. And you can do that through making sure you know what the data says.
And I don't care what kind of business you're in. The difference between a successful business person and an unsuccessful business person is the level of introspection that it takes to go back and look at what you're doing, figuring out what works, figuring out what didn't, and evolve. And if you keep doing the same thing, the same tired approach that isn't working for you, well, you're never going to get it. You've got to humble yourself and start looking, okay, what am I doing wrong? Or what can I be doing better? And then take affirmative steps to get there.
Yeah, that's the definition of insanity. He's doing the same thing, expecting different results. One of the things that I wanted to say too is how, and this is something, Melissa, you're working with us on, how can we increase engagement on social media? Because I'm sure you're going to say that's a big part of sales too, showing that people are actually interested in your product or service.
Yeah, engagement equals pretty much it's content. Engagement equals value. You're providing something that they want to know. So you really need to understand what are people are looking for on social media, so that way you're providing the content that they want to engage in. Like, for example, I put a post out, a social media post the other day, and a easy way for any business to start the engagement route and think about that as part of their strategy is ask a question. Put a post out to garner information back, and use that in terms of engagement. You want to think of ways to people to not necessarily like, but comment and share, and a lot of that is the value. What value are you bringing to your post? That's going to help with engagement.
Yeah, because I know at one point when we were marketing that June 1st webinar, you had sent out a couple of the digital cards, and it just had like the photo of the presenter and the name and maybe the title. But then once we started, so you started sending out the actual digital cards and then putting like a little bit of biographical information in there. You said that caused a lot more engagement. So sometimes we just don't provide our audience with enough information, and I don't know, maybe they just automatically tune it out.
Like, for example, here's a great example that we can all do after this call. Let's say, all right, so this podcast is going to come out.
Yeah.
We want to put this on LinkedIn. So this is what we could do.
Okay.
Everybody do a screen grab of this podcast as it is. Use that as a picture, put it on your LinkedIn. Mention that, I just did this great podcast with @Nancy, with @Mike, around marketing, hashtag another strategy, and put that out on LinkedIn. And then you'll see this increase in awareness and engagement. It is just getting people, to know that you're out there. And Mike, you're going to see it, and your people are going to engage in it. And Nancy, you're going to see it. So it's just really being very intentional with the messaging that you're putting out by using just some of the posting strategies around tagging people and using hashtags and delivering it in environments where they are with the message. So.
Okay, sounds good. Switching over to branding a little bit, why is using a logo important? You
want to go, Mike? Go ahead. You go first.
Okay. I said a little earlier, if you don't have a website, you don't have a business. If you don't have a logo, you don't have a business. The logo appears prominently on your website and your business card, and you need all three of those things before you can even go out and say you're in business. And I think it's one of those things that you have to spend a little bit of money on to get started, but it is so centrally important to the identity of your brand that if you don't have it, you're just not there yet. You haven't even begun.
And let me add to that, because this is what I've seen a lot with some of my clients, is that they start to go down the creative logo spiral black hole. You need a logo. It does not have to be the absolute best. You don't have to be 100% satisfied with it. As long as it's professional and as long as it gets the message through, use that initial logo. You can always update. If you notice, corporations update their logos all the time. So you can always update at some point. But I know businesses become stagnant because they tend to go down the logo branding black hole of what this should look like. How should I do it? That's not going to help with really sales right now, because you can get a logo in an hour on Fiverr and be fine. what is that people want to just know what your business is and the results that they can get from your business. So the logo is very important because of professionalism, but just don't go down the spiral of spending so much time with it.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same philosophy as with the website. You can spend so much time like on the back end sales process that you're missing the whole point. Like you're in business to sell something, a product and services that we can't, we're losing ourselves. We're losing the whole forest for the trees. Like we can't spend all of our time, building a logo, building a website. It's like at some point you've got to get in front of people to, do your sales pitch or sales presentation so that you can start to generate revenue.
And it comes down to two things that are kind of important, again, to anybody who has any business being in this webinar. First, perfect is the enemy of good. You can get by a lot of times. But the other thing is, if you're an entrepreneur, most likely you have a certain attitude, a certain way of doing things, that you're a little bit cocky and a little bit sure of yourself, and that confidence is great, but goes back to the central thing, focus on the thing that you're good at, focus on the thing that you're here to do, trust others to handle the 99 other tasks that don't need your personal involvement at any given moment. Get it professional, get it done, and move on. Because as someone who has done some work with identity and logo design, you get people who have strong feelings about what their personal brand is, and ideas and visuals, like, oh, everyone associates me with anchors. I got an anchor in there. If people don't know you personally, and if your goal is to form a business that will make business relationships with people you don't know, well, then you can't come at me with all of your, this backstory that nobody's going to know. It doesn't matter. Get something nice, get out there. And there's a lot of pitfalls and challenges there, but fundamentally, make a decision, move forward, get out there, get to it.
Yeah, Mike and I started working on the first video that he did for us in January, and at that time we had no logo, and so he put the video together. I watched the draft, and I was like, something is really missing. I don't know what it is, and I'm like, people don't really know that we're working together as a team based on them just watching this video. I said, I really think that we need to put a logo on in the video, and once we had the logo in there, even though we've enhanced it since then, it's like the whole video just came together. And
don't be unfair to yourself. You've had multiple irons in the fire while we were working on it.
Yeah.
Logo was in progress.
Right.
But you're right. When it came together, everything coalesced and you saw it in context, it did draw it all together. Yeah. And then you kind of smoothed over the part where when that logo evolved from where it was to the version it did today, that reflected what we had learned as a group, not just creating the video, but in early meetings, as we kind of pivoted and further understood what the hub group was and what it's on.
Right.
And now I think the identity materials really look bang on to what we do at the level of consulting that you get with the Square Business Hub group, because it evolved with the process that we were all undergoing together.
And something like Melissa was talking about, being that CEO, a lot of people say, well, I can't afford staff right now. And again, we're looking at what we don't have, we can't afford. But in the book, I think it's chapter 4, I talked about building your team. When you can start to build your team with volunteers. I mean, I outsourced some of the work that you all have done for DBHG so far. But I mean, a lot of it is just our monthly meetings or quarterly meetings, and we're just sitting down brainstorming, figuring out, okay, what are we going to do now? And when I was starting out, I spent a lot of hours with Ellis Liddell and just brainstorming. So, okay, so he's still trying to wrap his head around this whole thing. So exactly what is the hub group? And I tried to explain it like 15 different ways. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're going through this again.
But each way you figured it out a little bit better.
Yeah.
And how many central points of the hub group were figured out of heat and cornbread over coffee?
Right.
You work it out together and you get stronger for doing that work. It's all through attrition.
Yeah.
And I do think, Nancy, I mean, you're a testament to seeking out and working with people and delegating. And I do think, business owners, some of them don't want to do it yet. Some of them fear of failure or ridicule. So don't seek out your family. Seek out people that may not know you, but seek out people who can help you, who can give advice. Because I know I know there are the people out there. There's a bunch of people out there who love to give advice, right?
Right.
And especially if you approach it with like, hey, you do X, Y, and Z. Can I just pick your brain? Can you just give me some advice on this? People love to talk about what they did and how they, became successful. There's a lot of people out there who want to do that. And if you approach it respectfully, you can, save yourself some steps, save yourself some years by reaching out and having people help you.
Absolutely. Well, we don't want unsolicited advice. We want advice from professionals. So I mean, like Pook and them and Ray Ray, we probably don't want their advice. No, we're gonna pass on that.
I like Ray Ray.
I'm gonna pass on Ray. Ray Ray burns people's houses down. So we're gonna pass on Ray Ray. So we want educated, knowledgeable advice from people who have experience in what you're trying to do. So you all, we're going to talk about, just to wrap this up, any major pain points that you want to bring up when we're marketing. One of the pain points we talked about is the cost of marketing. That's why I talked about inexpensive approaches, because a lot of new business owners, cash flow is an issue, and you don't want to incur a lot of debt starting out with a startup business. So any other pain points that you all want to bring up?
I think you hit it on the head in the cost of marketing. I think people just need to know the benchmark, the good rule of thumb, and it's really hard, especially if you're a new startup. But marketing costs should be, for most small businesses, should be like between 5 and 12% of your annual sales. So your sales, you should have a budget that for marketing, and that's marketing, not sales, which is a different cost. And so I think if people could think about that's how much they should be spending, that would really help them, especially because it's a wild, wild west out there, especially on the internet. There's a lot of people who kind of set up a shingle and they say that they're a marketer because they had a $1 million launch, and that's not really the true foundation for most businesses. Those are atypical. So definitely from a pain point standpoint, people have a lot of horror stories. But if you just seek out, professionals, people who have been doing it for a while, and they can cite you sources and examples and references from a variety of things easily. Those are the folks that, as you seek out marketing help, that you should, gravitate towards.
Yeah, I think Melissa nailed it. And I think if there's one kind of underlying point to this whole discussion, it's that you have to spend smart. And that means not just knowing how much of your budget needs to be spent, but also where and when, and where you can do the work yourself and where you can get somebody else. And I think, kind of boiling down everything we talked about, if it's about your personality and your presence, you need to get out there and be out there. But if it's support, you need to go out and get that support and sadly pay for it.
Yep.
Well, sometimes you can get really good advice for free too.
That's true.
In some of the ways, I did a lot of work through Fiverr, like Melissa mentioned, and it was very inexpensive. It still was professional and polished.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yep.
Yeah.
I always tell people YouTube University is a great place to kind of go and learn some things and figure out some things for sure. But yeah, just staying focused and learning to say no, especially in marketing, because there's a lot of shiny object syndrome that goes around. Just staying focused and driving on your business against your strategy, and that shouldn't change. And keep using that as your litmus test. Is it on strategy? What I'm doing? Because people are gonna come at you from a variety of different things. Like, hey, I can get you this, this, and this, but is it on strategy?
Yeah, is that going to get you to your ideal customer or your target audience, like you had mentioned before? Well, thank you both so much. We're going to wrap it up. We're out of time. Please leave your contact information. Melissa and then Mike, and then we'll move on to the next webinar. You're both free to join us for the next one if you'd like to on Access to Capital.
I'll probably still be here.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got to jump off onto another call. I wish I can.
No problem.
Hey.
But
Melissa, do you want to leave your contact information for Wise Digital Marketing so potential owners, new business owners can contact you?
Definitely. You can find me, on Facebook at Wise Digital Marketing, as well as Instagram. Melissa at wisedigitalmarketing.com is my email. You can reach out to me there, or just wisedigitalmarketing.com. Find me there and contact me, and I'd be happy to kind of help you with your plan and have you move forward in your business. So thanks, everybody. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Melissa.
Bye.
Mike, you want to leave your comment?
Yeah, you can find me at rizzo.com. That's my last name, rizzo.com.
Okay, sounds good. All right, that'll be a wrap. Thank you, audience, for joining us today. We look forward to you being on the next webinar with us.
Thank you for joining us today. Detroit Business Hub Group is committed to your success. Go to nancyo'neal.com/DBHG for business tips, blogs, videos, and virtual classes. Watch your investment pay off.